So good, warm, very warm afternoon from our side. I hope you have something cool to drink and enjoy our session today. We're gonna start in some minutes when the room is filling up. Okay, let's say we start. Hello, everybody, and good afternoon, and welcome to today's webinar, Passport Please, Navigating EU Renovation Strategies to Address Energy Poverty. I'm Christina Eiselt from Climate Alliance, and I'll be your moderator of the webinar today. Today we are taking a closer look at EU renovation planning tools that can help implement the revised EPBD, especially in rural areas, but also in urban settings and especially multi-family buildings where energy poverty is very acute and prominent. So through insights of the three EU-funded projects, EC-funded, ComActivate, which is the follow-up project of ComAct that some of you may have heard of, and RENOVERTY will be exploring today how renovation strategies are tailored to building types and housing profiles, what barriers block actually vulnerable groups from accessing support, and what local solutions are emerging from community hubs to multilingual roadmaps. Some results for the webinar. So we are very keen in having a very participatory approach in the webinar. So you can post your questions in the chat. You can also ask to be unmuted. So we also welcome you to put your camera on. And if you have generally some questions, just post them in the chat and Roberta and I will try to help you with that. Okay, next slide, please, Roberta. Before starting, I wanted to mention some parts about today's webinar. So we are actually meeting at the crossroads. As you know and witness, Europe is facing a dual crisis that has been emerging since the last years very strongly. So on the one part, it's the affordability crisis and one of the climate. And for millions of citizens, these two pressures are no longer abstract. So a lot of people live them every day, and it's either in cold or, as today, for some of you, too hot homes, unaffordable bills, rising rents, and unclear renovation choices. And let me just share with you some newest EU polls from Eurobarometer from a couple of months ago. So we have 88% of Europeans who now say that their biggest concern is the rising cost of living. And 82% are really worried about their housing affordability. And in 2023, for instance, EU home prices were 50% higher than in 2010. So, and rents are up by 23%. But this is actually where the things really converge. So, as you know, housing is not a key competence of the EU, but climate is, energy is, regional development is, and consumer protection is. And also through soft law, also some social rights through the ESF or the Just Transition Fund or the Recovery and Resilience Facility. So housing is actually where all of these domains meet. It is where Europe's climate goals either succeed altogether or fail separately. So these statistics confirm the problem is shared by really a lot of European citizens across regions, across countries, but having also potentially different sources and fundamental causes. Yeah. As such, it is no surprise that this crisis has really surpassed the local and national borders and is also one of the key priorities and becoming part at the moment on the European level, and it is a European cultural zeitgeist. So that's why also we have now a housing commissioner for housing and energy. So today's webinar is about how renovation strategies can bridge really the gap from being a mere technical and compliance perspective to social equity. That's why we are looking at how building renovation passports, so rural energy efficiency roadmaps and neighborhood energy sufficiency strategies are being used, how tools like the individual refurbishment roadmaps helping to build trust with homeowners, and also how we can actually design inclusive strategies, and starting with those who need it the most. So let's get started. We are having today with us Karine and Eva, and they're presenting the Season Bender project, focusing on engaging vulnerable households and renovation projects. Then we will move on to Come Activate with Johan from EVO e.V., with the title From Renovation Passports to Neighborhood Energy Sufficiency Roadmaps. And then we will have, last but not least, Pierpaolo and Vera with Next Up, Rural Europe Insights to Energy Efficiency Renovations of Rural Households. And then we are keen to discuss these insights from these three projects also with you. So please write your questions, engage in the discussion. Feel free to unmute yourself. And with further ado, I would give the floor to Eva and Karine. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Chrissy. Okay, I will begin. So exactly as Chrissy has already mentioned, it is very important when we speak about buildings, about renovation, about energy and housing, that we also address the social aspects of it. And that's exactly what was the one of the main topics which we targeted together with my colleague Eva Shuba when we developed a training on social aspects, focusing on supporting renovations for energy poor and vulnerable homeowners. Next slide, please. This training was developed as a part of the project called Season Better, which is a LIFE project. And the project itself is focused on developing roadmaps for multi-apartment building renovation in Central and Eastern European countries. And our role as Climate Alliance was to develop the training, which would be able to be replicated across different municipalities to actually equip the staff to work with energy poor population. Because quite often we discovered that these skills are missing, and a lot of staff encounters a barrier of actually reaching the vulnerable population and have an impact on them. So the training mostly focused on social and psychological aspects of working with vulnerable and energy poor population, and some useful social skills which should be developed and which were identified as one of the main challenge, for example, for the municipal staff to be effective in their work. Next slide, please. So for the first time, our training was delivered in Tartu. It was in September 2024, and we, across participants, we had a mix of municipal staff, different energy experts, and the design of the training, the content was developed, it was a mix. We had a mix of desk research, and we also had a needs assessment across the participants to understand what are their interests, what are their needs regarding the training, what they want to know, where they struggle, where we can support them the best. And the training on site was also tailored to the participants' needs, because of course, like this training can be also conducted online, but we get a lot of added value of being together in person. And we have tested it once and hope to test it more. All participants were asked, like as a part of pre-training and preparation, was to complete the online course from Energy Poverty Advisory Hub. And they also received some assessment to be like to come to the training with already some insights that they could share from their daily work, because the training is very interactive, and we also wanted to build it, you know, on the exchange from what they face daily. And since there were participants from different countries, of course, and from different contexts, that could, these insights are also different and sometimes a great value added. And after the training, we also had a follow-up, and participants were offered on one-on-one consultations with us. So we could support them in the way how to replicate this training the best, because we wanted it also, you know, to not only to be sustainable, but also to be continued and to reach more people, more municipalities. So we also offered this kind of consultations. And yeah, you can ask yourself, of course, what is this training about? How does it look like? And that's where Eva will continue and guide you through the training content and how it was designed and structured.
Thank you, Karine. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. So part of the CC vendor project was and is still, we are in the middle of it, by the way, to consider the real needs and the real gaps at municipalities when it comes to supporting energy efficient renovations. And we discovered that not only the skills may be missing at municipal staff, but also much more so competences and knowledge. So we thought that the best way to approach the municipal staff is through their actual everyday experience. So we chose a methodology based on learning with adults, so adult learning methodologies and train the trainers, because the idea was, and the idea is, that this training is not only for them, but they can also tailor it to their own needs and do further competence building within their own municipality as well. So we were focusing on the learning cycle and how it works. And as you can see, it's a try and repeat methodology, but we also wanted them to bring their everyday experiences, because that's what works with the adults in terms of learning. And the learning by doing approach was very important. So they meet with certain topics and certain skills repeatedly throughout the training. And this is the way that we think works really good when it comes to new competencies and working with people, especially in this topic. So you can go to the next slide. Roberta, thank you. We chose a modular approach. We were focusing on, based on the needs assessment and the desk research, on the social aspects of energy. So basically content around energy and the social aspects of it. And more 4 modules, as you can see. We have engaging stakeholders. A lot of you probably know what it actually means and what it works. And that's where also the on-the-ground experiences and lessons of the municipal staff becomes very important. And then we have barriers to stakeholder engagement, where communication campaigns, but also resistance of when it comes to renovation projects of inhabitants and particularly vulnerable households is an important part of it. And actually the work on the ground, that's the 4th module. And we are going to explore now what it actually means. Afterwards, we wanted to also share with you some lessons learned and experiences, but also insights from CSIM Bender, as the project is not only about this training, of course, it's just only part of it, but the municipalities and energy agencies working together in this project, they also work with the multi-apartment housing associations. And we, in the last 1.5 years, we had the chance to visit them and learn from them. And so at the end, we are also going to explain a little bit the current findings on what are the barriers in Central Eastern Europe for renovation with vulnerable households in the mix, and what are the recommendations. But let's get back to the training. And Karin, in the next slide, will explain you a little bit about what topics we took on in the social aspects of energy.
Okay, so the first module of the training was focusing on energy as a social issue, and its social nature. So here we focused on some insights which allow the social activities to function and how it interplays with energy. So for example, like you would think, okay, what kind of social activities can interplay with energy? Almost all of them, like cooking food, for example, having meal together, using appliances, all of this daily activities which each of you do without maybe even thinking of it, it has a very big interplay with energy. We also focused here on different drivers of energy poverty, and we tried to be accountable to different national contexts because of course, the training can be conducted in different countries, and we cannot say the challenges are the same everywhere. They're similar, but there are, of course, some peculiarities. We also focused on energy behaviors and how different they can be across different people or different cultures and different social backgrounds. And we covered a bit what energy culture actually is, because as I said already, there is like you as an individual, you have your culture, you have your habits, something which is important for you, but it also defines the way you behave around energy. And that's what we wanted to show in this module. So we wanted to show this very, very big connection between such a technical and maybe far, it sounds like far from us, the issue of energy, and how much it is actually embodied in our everyday life and in our culture and in us, basically. Next slide.
Yeah, I think that's my slide, right?
Yeah.
And in the second module, we go further deep into what the experiences of multi-apartment building owners are in terms of renovation. We wanted to make this module useful for municipalities who are willing to motivate their citizens to renovate, even if the ownership is the ownership structure of the privately owned building is challenging, like you have energy poor households in the mix, and you have owners in the mix who rent their flats, because that's a lot of times the situation in big former Soviet era buildings as well. And the idea here was to support municipalities to develop their own communication methods and campaigns. And to do that, we help them to understand how and what kind of engagement they can act on, and how they can actually support communities, housing communities, because these basically multi-apartment building owners are a certain kind of community, and this is how we also look at them. And this section also offers insights on interesting outcomes of recent studies that focused on what triggers renovation decisions. That's a very interesting and very apparently important theme, as often these campaigns or communication actions do not necessarily focus on the triggering points of renovation decisions. So motivations and challenges of energy poor households are coming to play in this section. The co-creation and co-design method that we present here is a tried and trusted one, and we support very much municipalities to go down the road of working together with their own citizens and not just imposing certain things with them. And next slide, please. Moving on to the barriers to stakeholders' engagement, what are the things that prevent these municipal campaigns or in general communication campaigns to be successful? That's what Karin will talk about now.
Yeah, so quite often we know some good engaging strategies and approaches, but we, like as a professionals working in the field, we always ask ourselves why it doesn't work. So that's exactly what we tried to target in this module. Also, needs assessment was very, very important for us here, because and all the insights which participants brought with them to the training, because that helped us to design the content in a way to address the most the possible barriers and how we can go around them. So one of the barriers was asymmetric information. Here we wanted to put some more attention of the municipal staff to the fact that you know more about renovation, and you need to understand that when you speak to people about their homes, they might not be as informed, and for example, that vulnerable communities have less access to information, and even despite they have maybe some support frameworks in place which they can access, they might just not know about it. So it's very important to understand that the positionality regarding the information about the building, about the renovation benefits of it, is not symmetric across different target groups. Then, of course, we spoke about different biases and skepticism, which can arise during which can be connected to the renovation process. And that's again where the insights from our participants were very relevant, because some of them could share what kind of skepticism they encountered, what kind of biases they have heard, and we could address them and maybe find a way, okay, if we hear this bias, what can we do to, maybe tell otherwise. And of course, whenever we speak about renovation, the question of money comes into play all the time, because it should be financed. So we also spent some time on exploring different support options for renovation. Next slide, please. And the final model of the training was focused on nonviolent communication as a main tool for the staff to work with vulnerable communities, with homeowners, because this tool enables to address almost any issue, because sometimes, it's very important how you speak. And what kind of the relationship you have with the people you are trying to address. So we tried to embody nonviolent communication principles into the work of municipal staff to help them to be more receptive to the challenges of the vulnerable communities they're working with, to give them some practical skills which they can develop to improve their work, and to be maybe more heard, more understood, and to use this as a tool to have a better engagement results, and also to address some of the barriers such as skepticism, such as biases. And here also, at the end of the training, we had a presentation from the functioning one-stop shop from Vilnius, Amiestas, and they shared their experience, they also shared their challenges, and it was a great value added for us, because that showed that everything what we try to teach in this training, it's not, only a theoretical concept which is not actually implemented and is not working, but we also could observe some of the elements in the already functioning one-stop shop from the region of action, Central and Eastern Europe. Next slide.
Yes, because we are running out of time, I would just ask Roberta to click 2 more times. We are just showing you some pictures from the demonstration, and thanks, Roberta. And wanted to mention, beyond, of course, the materials that are part of the training that are available for further use, our experiences here a little bit. As I said, we have been working together with multi-apartment building owner associations along the project. Currently, we're installing air quality measuring smart devices. So at the end of the project, it will be possible to compare pre-renovation and post-renovation air quality, which is an important point when it also comes to the quality of life of vulnerable households. And just one story that before we finish with our recommendations, so to say, very shortly. I know we are running out of time, so just 1 minute more, your attention. We met 2 multi-apartment building homeowner associations in the last half a year, I think. One of them in Tartu, where the renovation was motivated by mostly the board of the homeowner association. And the interesting lesson there was the motivation was due, of course, it's a long renovation project and the renovation journey, but the neighborhood got very excited about it because the municipality threw in a creative element and engaged artists who decorated the entire buildings with different motives, so street artists. And that got viral. I mean, I'm saying viral in the social media times, but it got so interesting and engaging that other homeowner associations joined in. So there's always the nice touch and the neighborhood element that can help regardless of money sometimes. And another story here, we see the energy agency and municipality representatives talking to each other. One of them brought the president of huge former Soviet era multi-apartment building association. And he shared an insight that also stick with us, and that was about the human side of it, and because this is also something that we emphasize in this training, that they went into the renovation journey with the mindset of a family, that the entire building is like a family where they support each other, no matter what the background and financial situation is. And that was the mindset throughout the entire renovation. And they ended up with an almost autark building not only isolated and renovated energy efficient methodologies, but also fully running on renewable energies. And with that, the final word goes to Karine for 1 or 2 sentences about our findings and recommendations.
Yeah, I will be quick because, as Eva mentioned, the project was much more than just addressing vulnerable households. They have done a bigger policy work on building stock in Central Eastern Europe. What are the challenges and barriers for innovation, and what we can recommend? So the main challenges which we identified were, of course, the decision-making process in multi-apartment buildings. Because of the historical legacy in this region, we have a very huge privatization, and of course, it's very hard to align the interest of, for example, 50 or 70 homeowners of the one building. The building stock data still is unreliable or not of a good quality, which also hampers all the possible assessments and policy planning which we need to do about buildings. And which is quite closely tied to the data is that building renovation is not as prioritized as it should be in this region, unfortunately. And still, we have not enough of financial resources to meet the energy renovation targets, and actually that the financial resources are not sufficient to meet the need. And this was on the challenges, and based on the challenges, we came to some of the recommendations as a project. Next slide, please. So it was recommended to approach the renovation as a strategic planning, which again should be relied on the good data. And it was essential to stress that all the grants and all the support options should be based on the detailed analysis and very well planned policy. Then the homeowners, they should see the renovation not something as, us imposing for them, but something they also want. That's why it's very important to keep them informed about the building condition, what are the possible outcomes and effects the building condition might have on them, and actually create the incentives for them to want renovation and not to see it as something we impose from the top. Also, it was recommended to provide a technical support for applicants, because quite often, even if support options are in place to facilitate building renovation, the application process is even too hard or too bureaucratic or requires too much time. And a lot of people and, entities in need struggle to actually apply and use the existing support options. And the staff skills are the key, of course. So the quality of application for support programs, it depends a lot on the capacities of the staff who work on different parts of the journey for this application for renovation support options. And that's why training for workers and technical experts, as well as different public sector employees and building managers, is important to improve this process. And the last slide. I think it's not the last slide. Yeah. Yeah, right. As the data has been mentioned already several times, it's very important to improve the data handling and access to it. That renewable energy should also be integrated in the way we approach building renovation, because it's about our goals related to Green Deal, and it's also about the sustainability of our future. And of course, the partnership principle must be respected. So building renovation should be participatory process, and that's a place where homeowners and different involved actors should be heard. So to bring alignment on this process and actually to facilitate it, we need to respect the partnership principle and respect the participation. So thank you so much. We are 5 minutes out of time, but yeah, last slide. There is still one slide which I quickly, not maybe speak about, but run through. So as a climate alliance, we have a certain principles, and all of these principles are also embedded in our work in system vendor and in building renovation. So home renovation must be fair. because it's not, we shouldn't avoid the situation where the most vulnerable bear the most costs. We should think about resources because we need to use less to achieve more. And it's not only about buildings, it's also about how the entire process functions itself. And not only being participatory, we need to account for the diversity because there is nothing more unequal than treating unequals equally. And we need to be open to the fact that we are different, countries are different and challenges are different. And even despite we use this umbrella of Central Eastern European countries, we are still accountable in how different they might be. And last slide, you can get in touch with us and with the project. The contacts are there. And of course, they will be shared after the webinar. And don't hesitate to contact Eva or me. We would be happy to discuss more with you. And yeah, not to steal more time from other participants. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karina and Eva. Thank you very much. One quick question to you that was posted in the chat. Which countries and municipalities are part of the project and how did you select them? Before moving to the general discussion and the bigger conversation, just quickly.
Yes, so the partners are part of the CCIN network. That's the Central Eastern European Municipality Network, very new one, a young one. And the countries are Estonia, Slovenia, Croatia, Poland. Am I missing someone? Romania. Yes.
And the municipalities? Because you have
yeah, we have Tartu, we have Alba Iulia in Romania. We have Slovenia. Karin, do you know the name?
I'm trying to remember now.
You asked me to pronounce the municipality. Alba Iulia was easy. Hold on. I will write in the chat, okay?
Yeah, well, we need some time to remind ourselves the names too.
Okay. And just a quick follow-up on how did you select them?
They have been in the process of developing the project. So it was based on their needs and requests from a previous project. So the entire project was developed with them.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Let's move on. You have already mentioned in your presentation the neighborhood activities. And I think this is a very good red thread to move on to Johann's presentation about the neighborhood districts or energy sufficiency roadmaps. So we are keen to hear from you, Johann. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chrissy. Hello, everybody, and sunny regards from Berlin. So the project I represent today here is ComActivate. ComActivate, it's a project which is conducted, maybe next slide, in 3 countries. We are much more partners from different countries, but the activities are carried out in Lithuania, in the municipalities Kaišiadorys and Elektrėnai, in Hungary, in the district of Budapest, Józsefváros, and in Bulgaria, in Burgas, at the Black Sea. So the project started end of 23 and will last still 1.5 years. We are around 11 partners, 1 associated partner from Macedonia, and the lead is Habitat for Humanity International. They are based in Slovakia. And as mentioned previously, our project, it's more or less, it's a continuation of an activity we had previously with a project ComAct that was conducted also in Ukraine and North Macedonia. Next slide, please. So the project is focused on supporting energy poor households ideally in the renovation of their buildings. We are talking about multifamily buildings. Most of them were constructed during socialistic times, but not all, especially in Józsefváros. We have a lot of historical buildings. And the idea is to support them, that they can move forward with the renovation. One big part of the project is to establish or to initiate resource centers. Others call them one-stop shops. I think they have now quite different names in EU, but same meaning. So supporting establishing such institutions or such organizations that can support then the homeowners in the refurbishment process. And one small part of it are the individual renovation roadmaps. We call them then renovation roadmaps, and you can refurbishment roadmaps. And but they it's more or less it's the same idea, and we saw that actually it's not only one single building that is maybe related. So if we talk about a district or about a city, there are a lot of things interconnected, and if we would like to provide support for such renovations on a bigger level, we maybe also should consider, can we support neighborhoods or districts in developing solutions. So then we came up with this Neighbourhood Energy Sufficiency roadmaps. About that I would tell you a bit later. And what is sufficiency? Maybe some of you might ask in context of neighborhoods. So this is quite challenging as well for us as well. We first thought, okay, the chat might be quite clear, but if we talk about sufficiency in poor households, energy poor households, if you once visited a building in very bad conditions, energy conditions, you will realize that most of these people are not heating properly, because whether they don't have the financial resources to heat, or even if they would heat, the heat will get out of the walls, windows, whatever, because the building is not energy efficient. And then we come up with sufficiency. Those people are mostly actually already sufficient in an unlucky way, because they are not using so much resources often. They cannot afford it. But there are still many other points we have to consider if you talk about sufficiency on local level. And I will come later to that. So next slide, please. We, as a small part of the project, as mentioned, we have this individual renovation roadmaps, and we thought that we should we have to start in the small nucleus, so in the small cell, so starting with a residential building. And I think Eva or Karine, you mentioned that one house is one family, even if they are not family, and there might be 100 or even more homeowners in one building. They need something that how to start to think about what to do with their building, and ideally it's a roadmap that is tailored for them. So we thought we can share best practices with different stakeholders, show them how such renovation roadmaps can be drafted in different countries. We had a online workshop, and we had 3 workshops in the partner municipalities explaining different approaches. And almost around 130 participants took part in these workshops. And next slide, please. And still we are facing a lot of problems, and that was quite interesting to see in the workshops and while preparing all these workshops. So from EU level, there is a demand or request to implement now renovation passports. However, almost few people know about it, that they are existing. And very few people can prepare them. So in most of our countries, people are not aware about them, that such tools are existing, and even harder to prepare them. So in COMACT, for example, in Budapest, our partners supported one homeowner association in preparation of such renovation passport. And they fastly came around with a lot of other things. So we usually tend, from EU project, tend to tell people, okay, let's think about energy efficiency or energy sufficiency. But actually, in most of the situations of the buildings, people have much urgent problems. Not only that they have maybe low incomes, they maybe have big problems with the structure of the buildings. Often the buildings, they have broken walls, broken roofs or leaking roofs, a lot of things that are that we have to tackle before. And people, if you come to them and tell, hey, let's renovate your building, they think mostly about these things. Let's renovate the door. And then later thinking about energy efficiency, like insulation of their facade, because they think my kids, they can't get harmed because this construction is bad. There are some maybe some blocks are falling down. So and they are not. They live in a completely different reality. This is what we faced, that energy efficiency is actually not first. Even if at EU level we tell all the time energy efficiency first, actually it's not. So how we tried to tackle it, we are now developing based on a German renovation passport. Try to prepare one that we can share with partners in their languages as well, that they can use it. And actually, for us, renovation passport, it doesn't mean that you really just take it and just implement it, because we talk really actually about energy poor households. They are facing a lot of problems to get financing for smaller things. And if we talk about big refurbishment, so then you need also the whole financial scheme on different levels, local, regional or national. And in not all our countries, such subsidy schemes are existing. If we talk about Hungary, currently in Hungary, it's not possible to refurbish multifamily buildings. There is a program for single family buildings on rural sites. But if we talk about bigger municipalities, so there is not funding for multifamily buildings. And our partners in Josepharos, they're facing the situation that they even if they would prepare the people, there is still a big financial gap. So therefore, it's not so easy. But the renovation passport, if we look at that, is a quite good communication tool. So it gives you the possibility to approach the homeowners, because normally in all countries, they have to meet at least once a year. And in our experiences, also in Germany, is that if on the agenda there is no energy efficiency as topic, people will not tend to talk about it. And in most of the countries, such buildings are also managed by housing managers, usually professionals. they tend to avoid put this topic on the agenda because it's quite conflictive. Because it's a costly thing that you propose or you put on the agenda, and you got a lot of enemies in this meeting. So, but if you explain them, hey guys, we have this possibility to prepare renovation passport where all the measures that should be implemented in our building, and not only energy efficiency measures, but also the measures that we have to do that our building is still standing there in the next 15 years. This is a real problem, I think, for most of the poor households and most energy poor buildings. They are really in bad shape. Then you can tell, okay, let's open it again in the meeting and check what we can do maybe as one of the next steps in the next year or in the next months. This is a good communication tool. Next slide, please. And for us, such renovation passport would be then a small piece in the bigger picture. So then we go to refurbishment of several buildings, then neighborhood rehabilitation, and integrated neighborhood rehabilitation concepts. Currently, we are now in process to prepare the neighborhood energy sufficiency roadmaps. 2 weeks ago, we had the workshops on the so-called NESRs. And what came out is if we would like to talk about buildings in a neighborhood, you always come around with a lot of other topics. So there is, for example, mobility. How can people move in this area? We talk about public spaces. We talk about energy, what kind of energy you need in such a district, and about buildings, so housing. And each of these topics, they are interrelated, and they are quite important for the whole scheme. So it's actually not possible to tackle on only one, and then the only if we would try to tackle energy efficiency, we will face quite fast barriers. And it was very interesting to see in the workshops 2 weeks ago. We had the main focus should be housing and energy efficiency in buildings, but the discussions that were developed during this workshop with different stakeholders. They came from municipalities, NGOs, utility providers. Some homeowners also came. So it was really interesting to see that in almost all discussions, no one was talking about energy efficiency. They talked about parking spaces, about greening the surroundings, which is also all relevant. And therefore, I would actually argue for, let's talk with people what problems they're really facing in their neighborhood or in their building, and try to find solutions first for these problems. And then you will have the door open in this community and can help these people do the next steps. So this is what I learned a lot of this integrated neighborhood approach. So if it's not possible to come to people and explain them, you have a big energy demand, so let's refurbish your building. Unfortunately, in such owner constellations like where we work in Central and Eastern Europe, it's not the door opener, it's actually the blocker, especially if you have countries where the renovation strategies are not well developed and the funding scheme from the governmental side is not developed. So far from my side, I hope I'm on time. My next slides are just about partners and contacts.
Great. Thank you so much for these very practical examples as well. And I'm going to move directly to Pierpaolo, right? And Vera.
It should start that, I think.
I will start. Yes, my slides are the first ones. I will talk about the RENOVERTY project and the Hungarian aspects. Within the RENOVERTY project, rural energy efficiency roadmaps were developed as practical, user-friendly guides to support energy-efficient renovations in rural communities across Europe. These roadmaps aim to help rural homeowners improve their living conditions, such as thermal comfort, energy bills, and indoor health, while also contributing to the EU's broader climate and energy objectives. Each REER serves as a foundational tool for addressing energy poverty, providing tailored guidance on how to navigate the often complex technical, legislative, and financial aspects of building renovation. Next slide, please. The roadmaps were co-created as participatory processing in 7 pilot countries that you can see on the map. We collaborated closely with local action groups. This co-creation approach ensured that local social, economic, and climatic conditions were fully integrated in each roadmap, making the recommendations both relevant and actionable. As a result, the REERs offer clear and context-specific guidelines that simplifies the renovation journey for vulnerable households. They empower local actors to initiate and manage building improvements while laying the groundwork for more inclusive, equitable renovation policies at the regional and national levels. Next slide, please. The project provides adaptable frameworks that are tailored to specific regions and countries, as well as to different types of households. There are technical rural energy efficiency roadmaps for various household types, including single-family homes, multi-family houses, tenant situations, colonies, and multi-apartment buildings. Additionally, we developed REERs for stakeholders and decision makers to support evidence-based planning and policy making. Next slide, Roberta, please. In Hungary, we co-created 2 types of REERs. One is dedicated to stakeholders and the other is to single-family households, tailored for each of our LUCs. Our REER for households explains the benefits of energy upgrades and provides a step-by-step renovation guide, covering both minor and deep renovation pathways. A dedicated section outlines the energy audit processes and certification system. Next slide, please. In addition to these, the resources presented in the stakeholder-focused REER describe in greater detail to help better navigate households within available supports, and we have a chapter about the renovation objectives, indicators, possible interventions, identified barriers and challenges, the key stakeholders, national programs, and scalability and replicability of the REER. Next slide, please. The concept of energy poverty in Hungary is well known and used, but only in the professional circles, such as researchers, NGOs, and energy policy experts. But it is less widely used or recognized by the general public. Many people experience energy poverty without being able to identify or name the phenomenon. There is currently no formal or legally defined definition of energy poverty in Hungary, although some policy documents, such as the National Energy and Climate Plan, refer to the issue. They do not provide a precise definition, and there is no targeted legal or social policy framework to address energy poverty in Hungary. There are approximately 4.6 million residential properties, of which about 2.8 million are family houses. These homes accommodate around 62% of the population, yet nearly 80% of them are energetically inefficient with inadequate insulation and outdated heating systems. This housing stock requires urgent energy upgrades to improve living standards and support the country's climate objectives. Despite Hungary's relatively high position in energy and poverty rankings, falling within the top third among EU member states, its favorable placement is largely attributed to government-regulated low electricity and gas prices, rather than the energy performance of buildings. These artificially low prices can discourage energy-efficient retrofits, delaying necessary renovations. Next slide, please. RENOVERTY implementation in Hungary is focused in two pilot lag areas, the Somló-Marcal-Mente Bakonyája and the Bükkérségi Leader Action Group. Despite their geographical distance, they share several characteristics, such both they are economically underdeveloped, households face similar financial situations, and the construction techniques and building materials are largely uniform. There are two notable distinctions. The Bükkérségi lag is located in a just transition region, and the households in this area rely more heavily on fossil fuels for heating, and this increases the urgency and complexity of energy renovations. These differences have been taken into account in the development of the REERs, resulting in customized guidance that reflects the unique local context. Next, please. In Hungary, the local action groups currently do not hold any formal competence in household renovation processes. The main actors engaged in addressing energy poverty include municipalities, though they generally lack the financial capacity to implement residential renovation programs. Only a handful have the means to do so, but not within the RENOVERTY's two pilot areas. NGOs, universities, and research institutions play an active role in piloting model programs, advocacy, resource mobilization, and so on. And local contractors are crucial in executing physical renovation, but they face a significant skill shortage, which remains one of the most pressing bottlenecks in the sector. Next slide, please. In Hungary, an estimated of 3 million Hungarian households are needed to be renovated, need energy modernization. There are some funding schemes that aim to support renovation efforts. The home renovation program targeted 30,000 households, and by the end of last year, about 3,000 applications were received. The program offers a mix of grants and interest-free loans and is financed through the Environmental and Energy Efficiency Operational Program. The Energy Efficiency Obligation Scheme has potential to support RENOVERTY's objectives, although there were recently policy changes and it made the conditions less favorable for households. There is a rural family home building allowance. It provides a non-refundable state subsidy conditional upon the applicant having the agreed number of children within a set period. And the new rural home renovation grant, what Johan mentioned, is for municipalities with fewer than 5,000 inhabitants. While it broadly supports housing improvements, efforts are needed to steer beneficiaries toward energy-efficient investment. RENOVERTY aims to raise awareness so that grants are spent on meaningful upgrades rather than on essential enhancements such as decorative terraces. Next slide, please. Within the project, we identified four measures based on the Hungarian rural energy efficiency roadmaps. Awareness raising campaigns for households that focuses on the benefits of energy renovation and the availability of subsidies is essential. Policy recommendations to government actors, including tailored proposal for ministries and input into national plans, is the next measure. The Constitutional Court annulled the climate law's target for the greenhouse gas emissions, ruling that the legislator target was insufficient and obliged the government to draft a detailed law by the end of June next year. We will participate in a newly formed civil working group that aims to represent perspectives related to tackling energy poverty and the energy efficient renovation of rural buildings in the context of the revised law. The next measure is next slide. Next measure is the engagement with potential EEOS actors. This model is likely to play an important role in response to the bureaucratic challenges and administrative burden of the financial mechanisms. And to help households, we decided to do energy audit light with technical assistance. It is a door-to-door energy diagnosis, exploring renovation options, analyzing financial possibilities, providing technical assistance in submitting applications for the rural home renovation grants. We believe that by implementing these measures, they can serve as a widely applicable, structured approach to tackling energy poverty, ensuring that more households benefit from affordable, energy efficient, and sustainable housing solutions. Thank you. The word is yours.
Thank you, Vera. Paolo.
Yeah, Paolo.
Hi, hi everyone. So regarding Italy, there have a similar construction to the one developed in Hungary. We have developed two kinds of REER. The first one is the technical one direct to the household, while the second one is direct to the stakeholders. The RENOVERTY in Italy is focused in the Parma province, where thanks to the audit, we have found that most of the buildings were built before the 1976. That means before were some rules on thermal insulation, and we have found that the 75% of the houses have a very low energy class. This means that they are fully insulated, having inefficient heating, and you have a higher cost to maintain it. Next slide, please. Okay, so thanks to the audit that we have conducted and the model, don't worry.
Sorry, the computer is a bit slow. 1 second, and
there is no problem. Don't worry. Thanks to the audit that we have conducted, we have used all the information to develop a model. Thanks to the dream model, we have developed, thanks to one of our partners, we have two scenarios regarding the consumption both for single family buildings and multifamily buildings in Parma, in the area we worked, and that gave us the model has been developed selecting seven energy energy efficiency measure, and thanks to this model have been measured all the effects on consumption and emission, and also the economic advantages and return on investment. Next slide, please. In this slide, for example, we can see that the heat pump and the roof insulation are two of the main energy efficiency measures that have a big impact on the energy consumption and the total energy savings. While for the multifamily building, we can see that the insulation of the exterior walls and the installation of heat pump are the best one. Next slide, please. One of the dream model give us also this result where you can see for each energy efficiency measures, all the investment cost, useful life, discount rate, the net present value of the investment, the payback period, and also the levelized cost of energy saved. And this show us which energy efficiency measure could be more convenient for households. And all these calculations have been made without considering incentives for the renovation works. And we have done the same for the multi-family buildings. That is in the next slide. And for example, for multi-family buildings, if we don't have any incentives, the insulation of external walls and the windows and the replacement of the windows are not convenient because the net present value is negative, while it's more convenient to install the heat pump or upgrading the biomass boiler, and also to change the light bulbs with energy efficient light bulbs. Next slide, please. We have considered also the barriers, the main barriers and gaps to energy renovation in Italy linked to energy poverty. First of all, we find the high upfront costs, because in Italy at the moment all the incentives that we have are all tax deduction. That means that people have to add the money, to spend the money before they can have the tax deduction. And this is the first gaps. The first barrier, the first and the second barriers are similar in that. The third barriers is the complex administrative procedures, because the bureaucracy and the restriction are very heavy and are difficult to go over that. The fourth barriers is the lack of information, because most of the cases citizens are unaware of all the opportunities they could afford and all the benefits of their energy renovation. Next slide, please. And then the fifth barrier is the disagreement in the condominiums, because most of the cases is difficult to reach the required majority in the condominiums if you need more than the 50% of the households to can start the renovation works. Also, we have found shortages of qualified professionals in rural areas. And then the long payback periods is something that discourage the investment in energy renovation works. And the last one of the main problems, the main barriers, is the uncertainty, because at least in Italy, we had the experience, our experience with the Superbonus was very negative from this aspect, because of the legislative uncertainty. It's law is a tax deduction that have experienced a lot of changes in less than 3 years, and that make people don't want to renovate anymore. They are not interested. So next slide, please. We have thought to possible solution to all this problem. The first two solution is referring to long-term financing options and enhanced communication, simplified procedure to the bureaucracy, but also to access to these incentives and these financial tools. Third possible solution is awareness and training campaigns to the citizens, but also to stakeholders and construction and workers. Also, of course, use the one-stop shops to help and simplify all the process and help citizens to provide a guide for the citizens in the administrative labyrinth, especially in Italy. Next slide, please. Then we have the idea to use the facilitator also in the condominiums to help to reach the consensus. So that means organize informative meetings with experts that may not have any interest, any benefits from the renovation works. Then we already talked about the train the professional, and the last one is promote flexible payments model to help people in energy poverty and vulnerability. Next slide, please. Okay, in the Italian REER, we have we are trying to improve four measures, to implement four measures. The first one is a communication and information to citizens to inform on energy renovation benefits with different articles spread through the energy desk. That is an initiative that involve 7 municipalities in the province of Parma. It's guided by the local energy agency. The second one is to provide a legal provision to promote the creation of renewable energy communities that try to oblige them to use to allocate parts of their income to renovate some of energy poor households. The third measure is an agreement with sector entities for microcredit dedicated to energy renovation. And the last one is to develop renovation labs to teach citizens how to implement small do-it-yourself renovation works. I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Pierpaolo. Thank you, Vera. So thank you for all the presentations. I still have 11 minutes for a discussion and to have some questions. I think, Eva, you put a question in the chat. I don't know, Vera, do you want to answer that question? Do you, Eva, want to ask it by yourself? Should I read it? What do you prefer?
I can ask myself. So if you mentioned that the Hungarian climate law was ditched, so to say, and the climate law is supposed to contain the targets as well for reaching energy efficient buildings. So if, as far as I know, next year there are elections, but you also mentioned that until next June, they have to provide the new draft. I doubt a little bit the motivation of the policymakers before the election. So I was just wondering if you could already estimate what the timeline is. So when would the new targets be public, and if there are any chance that the targets take into consideration different social factors like energy poverty?
It's a good question. But I think I cannot answer.
We stay in touch, because I'm very interested in this.
Yes, sorry.
It's a real chance. It's a real chance for Hungary.
Yes. A working group is formulating. So
Okay.
we are working together with the Friends of the Earth Hungary, WWF, EMLA, levegő munkacsoport.
Air Working Group, it's one of the oldest NGOs on emissions.
Green Policy Center, Bird Life Hungary, or I don't know, Energy Club. So there are several associations working together on the proposals.
Yeah. Interesting developments. We'll see.
Yeah.
So also the participants, so if you want, you can unmute yourself, you can raise questions as well. Otherwise, I have also noted some questions during the presentations, but please don't be shy. Somebody, maybe. Okay, otherwise, I wanted to ask Karine and Eva if you can give us some really practical examples of the biases and the skepticism that you encountered.
That's you, Karin.
Yeah, sure. I worked a lot with municipalities in Latvia and with residents in Latvia. And from homeowners, a lot what I hear is, oh, you're just selling me a loan. So whenever because we had some of the tasks where we had to come to the apartment buildings and to speak to the owners. And the first thing whenever you start speaking about renovation, the first thing I personally heard was, oh, you're here to sell me a loan. I was like, no, wait. I'm here first to speak about your building. I'm not even I don't even have a loan to sell to you. Then another bias, they have a very huge, they have some trust to municipality, but very huge mistrust to the government. So if you say governmental program, people are immediately afraid somehow, at least in that way. So when I always try to mention, okay, that's something from the city, that's something what city can support you, then city, okay, city we trust, government, no. Another bias was, mostly it's all around financing, and also some people, they were very, very reluctant to change, for example, the windows in their apartment, because they told me, oh, actually my windows are from the wood, so they breathe. And I'm like, that's a bit the problem in -30. But so the windows which breathe was another bias of something that is good for the apartment and that is good for the building overall. So I had a lot of conversations where people were telling me that they would never change the windows to the other ones because the windows will not, quote unquote, breathe. And I'm like, okay, interesting. So that's my top biases.
Great, thank you. And also I was wondering, Johan, because you're starting as well with a definition of sufficiency. So when would you say, do we talk about actually underheating? Because it's connected. because you were mentioning it. So I was a bit wondering, like.
I mean, usually you have rules, official rules in each country what is underheated if you are not able to reach a concrete temperature. I just remember during when the Russian war against Ukraine started in Germany, we talked about max 21 and it's enough. 21 degrees in wintertime in spaces. I guess that in many households in Eastern or Central Europe, this is already good condition.
Exactly.
Some of them will even not reach that numbers. That makes really hard to. I think to. We should definitely reconsider our approaches, all our approaches that we also try to implement through EU-funded projects. Even if I would always say we come with good ideas and with good intention, but convincing poor households in renovation, it's not the most effective approach, especially if there are no funding schemes that can support them to cover such costs. So I don't tell that those people are not able to pay for the buildings. They are owners mostly. They are really owners. They have some values with these buildings, and this should be understandable that this value you can also use for improvement of your home, and therefore we need actually support from different levels, municipal, regional, and national. And we see, for example, in Bulgaria, they had twice a 100% program. It was all the time twice funded completely by EU resources. And people who heard about it from the first 100%, so or at the end, they refurbished only hundreds of buildings, a couple of hundreds of buildings, but they have several thousands, so dozens of thousands of buildings to refurbish. So they spent money for just a bit, reaching little people, a small amount of people, and still have 99.9% of unrefurbished buildings. So in Baltic states, for example, they used cohesion funds, EU cohesion funds, to create national schemes that support people, that provide long-term loans to people. It's not about, like Karina said, selling a loan. It's about making it available for people, a renovation. That might be if you have an income of 200 euros, so maybe you can spend each month 30 euros for energy efficiency renovations. And the government should ensure that you receive support and you can maybe pay off in a long period of that. And we are not only talking about energy efficiency. So we are talking about homes. Those people are living in buildings. They will not exist in 20 years. This should be also mentioned. So if we have to tackle them, so we have to tackle a lot of other things, and we definitely will have to do something with most of those buildings, because otherwise those people will lose their homes, and the government or municipalities, they have to provide to such people new homes. This is much more costly than helping people to refurbish the buildings and helping them to pay for it. So it's in all examples where from somewhere above someone come with a good political idea to give it the renovation more or less for free. Pier Paolo mentioned this super bonus. I mean, it's cancelled because it was not working, because actually no government can afford to pay 100% for all. And if you are not paying it for all, it's unfair. And actually, it's from my point of view, it's against each law. So you're discriminating the rest, the whole rest. You're just funding for for some who were lucky, how they are selected, I'm actually doubt that it's all so transparent. So therefore, it's not fair, and it's not moving the big elephant from any point. So it's still the problem is there.
Because I had exactly that question in mind. So regarding the social climate plans and the funding that will be there. So I was asking myself as well and wanted to ask all of you, so should we give more funding to fewer energy poor households with deeper support, or smaller amounts, but more households and broader support? So, I mean, there are two options. One is actually really solves the problem of severe energy poverty if diagnosed correctly, right? And it addresses also multiple vulnerabilities like health, accessibility, legal issues. But of course, as you say, it leaves others also behind. But it can also generate perceptions really of unfairness if it's not transparently communicated. Yeah, the other one is reaching more and quickly, and boosts also visibility and acceptability, right? I don't know if somebody else has another opinion. At the same time, it has a limited impact and can also miss, if we are talking about rural Europe, those without digital access, for instance. Yeah. So maybe a middle way is think about. I don't know if somebody wants to have an ad hoc reply.
Yeah, I mean, from again, because we are from the Central Eastern European perspective, I think the question starts with who knows where the energy poor live and what is the condition of those buildings where they live, and what are the current frameworks that exist to support renovation. Because on one hand, there is the problem of who knows the state of these buildings. In Central Eastern Europe, I think the data availability is a key, but I'm not sure it's only Central Eastern Europe. If I just think about talking to German municipalities, you have no clue about the private building stock data, the actual ones, so the ones that are visited and the energy audit reflects the current situation. But in Central Eastern Europe, for example, just to give you an example, especially in the rural areas, if we talk about RENOVERTY here, in Hungary, for example, you have a lot of people living in houses that are built out of a certain material, and that you don't get any credit, you don't get any financing also from the national subsidies if you live in that special material. And the energy audit comes with the worst grading based on just the material. They don't even check any other situation in the building. They know this is the substance, worst graded building, and you don't get any credit for renovation and no subsidy. So yeah, I think the data on the building is extremely important, and people who understand the data is also very important.
Yeah, good point. Karina?
Yeah, I just wanted to address the point which you, Chrissy, mentioned about what we should target with the Social Climate Fund money. And from my point of view, for any effort to be sustainable, it should be based on the local capacity. And I think the only, like, the ones who know best who are energy poor are not, you know, the big assessments from the EU based on the 4 main indicators, but the people who work locally. So I think maybe one of the alternative and middle way to approach energy poor, either the most energy poor, the most vulnerable, or not most vulnerable, if I may say so, is to equip the local municipality or any regional agency to be able to effectively target it in the future, which will not end with Social Climate Fund, or what will help them to work with people who they know need help, because that's that something they know better. Most probably not us and not the Eurostat or statistical office.
Yeah, no, thanks. One last question to all of you, and I would like everyone to answer just with 1 or 2 words, if possible. So imagine we have this conversation in 5 years from now on. What change would you hope to see in the renovation landscape for energy poor households? I think Karina just answered it already. Is there something else? No?
In 2 words.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in 2 words. I mean, I'm already working almost 12 years in this topic, so I see progress, but still a long way before us. So ideally, I see ideally EU is monitoring all the funding that it gives to the member states that is really implemented effectively. That I would say. That's my statement.
Nice. Paolo, Veronica, somebody?
I don't know. It's not easy to answer.
Bottom-up experiences.
Maybe just it will be enough if the member state adapt their legislation in a proper way. I don't know if this is clear.
You also don't need to. I don't know, Eva, Mera.
This is my very first project in energy poverty, so I do not have too much experience in this field. I cannot
Good.
answer. Yeah.
Okay.
this question.
Eva? It's fine.
I would like to see targeted support and not one size fits all support.
Okay. Yeah, 7 minutes a bit above, but thank you so much for all the presenters, for the questions asked, and also in the chat. And I have some finishing quotes that I just heard from these presentations that I just wanted to share with you. So one was, renovation passports are a good communication tool as it makes it easier to approach the homeowners, but measures must address more efficiency, and property managers avoid to put energy efficiency on the how are board meeting. So if you talk about buildings, there are always interrelated other topics like mobility, public spaces, greening the surroundings. It's important to have the foot in the door to have the next steps. Then renovation is not something imposing from the top, but it's all that we all want. There is the lack of competent, skilled professional contractors in rural areas. And also that citizens are not aware of all opportunities they have, actually. And that is it from the site. And thank you, everybody, for your attention. Thank you for the presenters. Have a lovely, hot afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
for
very
the
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wish you a fresh afternoon. Bye-bye.